Hey everybody, Luke with Trails for Tomorrow. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're surviving this incredible heat that we've been getting. I wanted to give you guys a little mid-summer update on just what things are growing, what to do with your crops. And so today we're at the Dornsife garden here in West Philly. And they've got a good assortment of all the summer crops that most of y'all have in your garden. So this is a good garden to kind of show you what's going on. So I'll just do a quick walkthrough like I usually do. We'll start here with this bed, and as you likely can guess, these are some beautiful eggplants growing, and these plants are just looking super healthy. You come down over here, you'll see that they're starting to harvest, starting to get some big ones. And eggplant is one of those summer crops that can be a little tricky to know. When do I harvest it? When do I let it grow a little bit longer? Generally, the rule of thumb is when it has this nice glossy, black glossy kind of finish to it, and it's firm but not overly firm, then you know that that is a good, and it's sized up, then you know it's a good eggplant to harvest. So I mean, like if you come over here, you'll see this eggplant, yeah, it has a nice black glossy finish to it, but it's pretty soft and it's obviously very tiny. So we're gonna let that one grow. Over here, I've got potatoes, and I actually went ahead and I turned the irrigation lines off on this potato bed. The reason for that being, it's getting towards the end of the season for the potatoes. You can see the vines are starting to die back. We want them to continue to die back, and if we keep watering them, then they're just going to keep growing, and there's also a chance that the potatoes that they've been developing under the soil will rot a little bit. So go ahead and turn your potato lines off, and then you can start to harvest those within a couple weeks, I would say. Peppers are in this bed. We've got some beautiful bell peppers, and these ones are just getting to the size where they can start to harvest them. So, just use your best judgment. You can harvest them at all different sizes. You can also let them stay on the vines to grow into different colors. Although in general, I have the best success with just harvesting green bell peppers. Really, unless you're growing like in a greenhouse or a hoop house, it's hard to really get a lot of multicolored bell peppers I found in this environment in Pennsylvania. But it's worth leaving a few on and seeing what you can get. All right, now over here we have summer squash. Now this is the one crop in this garden that is not doing too great. It looks to me like they probably has the vine borer pest, which has been pretty prolific throughout our garden network this year. So I would be surprised if you have it, unfortunately, in your garden. And that is like a little worm maggot thing that actually grows into the stalks of the of the crop, and then that will cause them to wilt like you see here. So once that takes hold, it's pretty much a goner, unfortunately. So like I said, pretty prolific this year. So you might, when it gets to that point, you can harvest what you can, and then I would say yank the plants. Over here we have some brassicas. These are 2 beds of collards, and amazingly these are doing quite well, which I will say in general at most of the gardens I'm seeing, they have the brassicas, like the collards and the kale, the cabbage, have really, at this time of year it's so hot, they're getting hit with pests, particularly the harlequin beetles, and so surprisingly there aren't any here, and so there's no reason for them to take them out. At your garden, be the best judge of that. You're going to be the best judge of that. If the leaves are just getting decimated, then I think it's really a good idea to pull them out of the ground, because what that'll do is kind of let your garden reset, because we're going to be back in mid to late August with new brassica plants, and we don't want to plant new brassica plants in August when there's such a high harlequin bug population. So this isn't the best example of that because it's looking so healthy, but you probably will know what I'm talking about if the harlequins have descended. Now over here, this is like one of my favorite garden beds in all of the network, not to play favorites, but this is really cool because they have intercropped tomatoes and collards. And sometimes what that happens is when we intercrop plants like this, they compete with each other, and they both kind of suffer for it. This is an example of it really succeeding, and the reason that it's been so successful is, I think, because they've pruned their tomatoes pretty hard. So you can see that these tomatoes are really not like bushes. They're really more like, well, they're more like vines. They have two, they've suckered them, pruned them to two main vine leaders. And so you can see, like, here, let me show you what I mean by that. So that maybe three. So this is what's called a leader, this nice thick stem right here. Here's 1, 2, 3. So they basically pruned off all the other ones and kind of just kept the plants compact and tall as opposed to wide. Now, it's at this time of the year, don't try to do that to your tomato plants. It's not going to be worth it. But that's just something to keep in mind maybe for next season, to prune your tomato plants. You can see that while they have only just started to turn color, like you can see here, they have these really beautiful sets of tomatoes. So not only does it keep the plants compact, it also redirects energy to the fruit. So even though it feels like can feel a little hard to be pruning these tomato plants, it's actually something where it's like less is more. You know, like pruning back the leaves and the branches of the tomato plant can result in more and healthier tomato plants. And then, last point about the tomatoes is, you can really start to harvest tomatoes at the first blush. So you can leave them on the vine, that one's pretty much good eating today. You could also harvest this one and it'll ripen on your countertop. You might decide to do that if you've noticed that your tomato fruit are getting eaten by squirrels, or they're getting blossom end rot, or any kind of rot. If you want to just kind of get to the tomato fruit before that happens, then go ahead and harvest at first blush. All right, thanks for bearing with me. There's a lot to talk about in the middle of summer. Cucumbers. So cucumbers are one of my favorite summer crops, and they've done a really cool trellising technique here, kind of like this lean-to A-frame trellis. And in general, most of our gardens will let their cucumbers grow along the ground. That's totally fine. If you're interested for next year, you want to think about ways you can trellis your cucumbers up off the ground, then you'll get more uniform plants, healthier plants, less susceptible to disease. So something to keep in mind. Another cool tomato bed that's been intercropped with Swiss chard. So similar concept to what was going on in that previous bed over there. And then I think I might have spoken too soon, actually, because I think this one might be my favorite bed in the whole network, or one of them. So this is cucumbers here. They're a little further along than the other ones you can see, and they've done the A-frame technique here, and it just looks so amazing. I think they've just done a recent harvest on this, so there's not a lot of cucumbers, but it's a super healthy crop, and you can see there's tons of little baby cukes all over it. I mean, this is going to explode in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I love it. Last, I promise, is just another bed of peppers here. So these ones were planted a little later than the other ones. That's why they're looking a little smaller, but they're looking nice and healthy. And yeah, that more or less covers it. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'll be seeing you all for your fall plantings in August, and happy gardening.